My boss said, beat me in the race and I'll reward you. I asked, anything I want. She saw possibilities in mistakes, patterns in chaos, and solutions where no one else even looked. Some people called her reckless. She called it creativity. That morning, the orbital city of Zenith looked like a sparkling jewel suspended in space. Its towers reflected the light of a nearby star, and the constant hum of ships moving between platforms made the city feel alive. Alara walked through the main corridor of NovaCorp, her hands tucked into the pockets of her jumpsuit, her mind already racing with ideas for her next invention. As she approached her boss's office, she could feel the tension in the air. Varn was not the kind of boss who smiled easily. His sharp eyes and even sharper mind made him a figure both respected and feared. Yet today, there was a hint of amusement in his gaze that made Alara curious. "Ah, Alara," Varn said without looking up from the tablet in his hands. "Just the person I wanted to see." Alara tilted her head. "Is that good or bad?" Varn finally looked up, a smirk playing on his lips. "Depends. I have a challenge for you." Alara raised an eyebrow. She liked challenges. They were the reason she had survived the last AI malfunction, the orbital supply mix-up, and a minor accident with a graviton accelerator. She had a knack for turning problems into opportunities, and she could already feel the spark of excitement in her chest. "Go on," she said. Varn stood and walked to the large window that overlooked the orbital track outside Zenith. Ships and hovercrafts zipped past each other, weaving in intricate patterns that seemed impossible to follow. "I've set up a race," he said. "The course is challenging, full of surprises, and I want you to beat me at it." Alara's heart skipped a beat. A race against Varn himself. That was unheard of. He was not only a master engineer but also a brilliant pilot. Most people would consider such a challenge impossible. "And if I win?" Alara asked, already feeling the excitement building. Varn turned to her, his eyes glinting with mischief. "Anything you want." Alara's mind raced. "Anything I want." The word sounded like a dream, almost too good to be true, but knowing Varn, he meant it. He was a man of his word, especially when it came to challenges. "Anything?" she asked again, just to be sure. "Yes, anything, but beat me first," he said, and then he leaned back as if daring her to accept. Alara smiled. "Deal." The rest of the day passed in a blur. She visited the labs, gathered materials, and sketched designs in her notebook. While others relied on expensive equipment or pre-programmed AI, Alara knew her greatest advantage was her mind and her ability to improvise. She spent hours imagining different strategies, testing her ideas on miniature models of the orbital track, and predicting every possible obstacle. By evening, she had a clear plan. She would not try to beat Varn with raw speed or power. Instead, she would rely on observation, clever maneuvers, and adaptability. While he might anticipate the usual tactics, Alara could think in ways that no one else expected. The next morning, the race preparation began. The orbital track was a marvel of technology. It twisted and turned around the city, looping past tall towers, spinning platforms, and floating energy fields. Some sections had low gravity, others simulated microgravity, and a few areas even had magnetic anomalies designed to test reflexes. Most pilots trained for years to master this course. Alara stood at the starting line, her heart pounding, her eyes scanning the track. Varn arrived a few moments later, looking calm and confident, as if the race had already been won. Around them, other competitors, human and alien, prepared their vehicles, but Alara ignored them. She only focused on the challenge ahead. "Remember," Varn said, leaning slightly toward her, "this is not just about speed. Strategy counts too." Alara nodded. "I know." A hush fell over the starting area. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1, the race had begun. Varn surged forward, his vehicle cutting through the air with incredible speed. Alara's craft followed more slowly, but she remained calm. She observed how Varn handled the twists and turns, noting the timing of his maneuvers and the choices he made at each obstacle. At first, it seemed like an impossible chase. Varn's skill was unmatched. But then a small opportunity appeared, a narrow passage between two spinning platforms. Most competitors would rush through it, risking collision or loss of momentum. Alara took a different approach. She slowed slightly, adjusted her trajectory, and used the magnetic field of the platforms to catapult herself forward. The trick worked perfectly, giving her a small but valuable lead. Varn noticed her move and raised an eyebrow. "Clever," he muttered, but he quickly regained his lead with a burst of speed. As they continued, the track became more unpredictable. Sections of the course shifted unexpectedly, platforms rotated faster, and energy barriers appeared with no warning. Alara relied on quick thinking, adjusting her craft mid-flight, using the environment to her advantage. Every move she made was a combination of skill and intuition. Halfway through the race, Alara faced the most challenging section, the meteor belt. Small asteroids floated freely, moving in chaotic patterns. One wrong move could send a pilot spinning into space. Varn navigated it expertly, but Alara had a different idea. She used her craft's gravitational sensors to calculate a hidden path, threading through gaps that even Varn had not considered. Emerging from the meteor belt, she realized she had caught up. Varn was close, but for the first time, she could see the possibility of victory. Her heart raced, not from fear but from excitement. She had turned a disadvantage into an advantage. By the time they reached the final stretch, the orbital city spread below them in all its glory. Lights twinkled like stars, and the hum of engines filled the air. Varn looked over at Alara, a hint of surprise in his eyes. "You're better than I thought," he said. Alara smiled, feeling the thrill of the challenge. She knew the race was far from over, but this moment, this feeling of pushing herself beyond limits, was already a reward in itself. As they approached the finish line, she remembered Varn's words, "Anything you want." The thought made her mind spin with possibilities. But first she had to win. First, she had to prove that human ingenuity, creativity, and adaptability could overcome even the most skilled opponent. The finish line was just ahead. The final stretch awaited, full of unknowns and opportunities. And Alara, with her heart pounding and her mind sharp, was ready. Because for her, this was more than a race. It was a chance to show that humans, with their unpredictability and cleverness, could achieve what no machine or alien could. And she would not let it slip away. The morning sun reflected off the metallic towers of Zenith, casting long, sharp shadows across the orbital city. Alara stood on the balcony of her small workshop, staring at the orbital track stretching across space like a twisting ribbon of light. The race against Varn was still hours away, but her mind had already begun its intricate dance of calculations and strategies. She had a notebook in hand, its pages filled with sketches, diagrams, and scribbled ideas. While most people relied on the latest AI software or ready-made tools, Alara trusted her instincts. She believed that human creativity could outperform even the most sophisticated machines when used wisely. "All right," she whispered to herself, "let's see what we can do." Alara moved inside her workshop. The room was cluttered, a chaotic mix of spare parts, holographic projectors, and half-finished inventions. To anyone else, it looked like a mess. To her, it was a treasure trove. Every discarded tool or broken circuit could be transformed into something new, something useful. She began by studying the course data she had managed to collect the previous day. The orbital track was designed to test every aspect of a pilot's skill: speed, reflexes, navigation, and adaptability. Sections of the course shifted without warning, gravity fields fluctuated, and energy barriers created unpredictable patterns. It was a nightmare for the unprepared, but Alara saw opportunity. "First," she muttered, tapping the page, "I need to make my craft flexible." It can't just go fast, it has to think with me. Her craft was compact, lightweight, and nimble, but it needed modifications. She added adaptive thrusters, capable of adjusting direction almost instantly. She installed a sensor array to detect subtle changes in magnetic fields, gravitational anomalies, and energy barriers. She even included a small AI assistant, not to think for her, but to process calculations faster than she could, so she could focus on strategy. Hours passed as Alara worked tirelessly. Sparks flew from soldering tools, holographic schematics floated in the air, and her hands moved in precise, practiced motions. She tested every new feature, making tiny adjustments, calibrating sensors, and imagining how she would react in each section of the track. Finally, she leaned back, exhausted but satisfied. Her craft was ready, not the fastest but the cleverest. Next came the mental preparation. Alara knew that speed alone would not win this race. She had to anticipate every move, predict obstacles before they appeared, and adapt faster than Varn could. She sat in front of her hollow screen, simulating scenarios again and again. Each time, she found new ways to navigate the shifting platforms, avoid energy barriers, and even use the environment to gain an advantage. Her favorite idea involved the rotating platforms near the meteor belt. Most pilots treated them as obstacles, carefully avoiding them. But Alara saw a chance. By timing her movements perfectly, she could use the platforms to slingshot herself forward, conserving energy and gaining momentum. It was risky, but she trusted her intuition. As the hours ticked by, other pilots arrived at the starting area. Elite human racers, alien competitors with multiple limbs, and AI-driven ships all prepared in their own ways. They laughed, joked, and checked equipment, confident in their abilities. Some even glanced at Alara with mild amusement. She was small, unassuming, and carried no high-tech upgrades that screamed winner. Alara ignored them. She didn't need their approval or attention. Her preparation was about more than tools, it was about mindset. By afternoon, Varn appeared at her workshop. He watched her tinkering for a moment, his expression unreadable. "You really believe you can beat me?" he asked, a slight smile on his face. "I believe I can find a way," Alara replied calmly. Varn shook his head, chuckling. "Confidence is good, overconfidence is dangerous." "I'm not overconfident," she said. "I'm prepared." He studied her for a moment, then nodded. "I like that. Let's see if preparation beats raw skill." The tension was palpable. Varn was known for thinking several steps ahead, and even the most experienced pilots had failed to anticipate his tactics. But Alara had something no one else had: creativity, adaptability, and a willingness to take risks that others considered impossible. Alara spent the rest of the day running simulations. She imagined every possible obstacle, every unexpected event, and tested her responses. She practiced emergency maneuvers, used mock meteor showers to test reflexes, and even experimented with her AI assistant to optimize calculations in real time. By evening, she felt ready. She didn't just have a plan, she had several. Plans A through Z, each adaptable depending on what Varn or the course threw at her. Her thoughts wandered to the reward Varn had promised. "Anything I want." It was a dangerous idea to think too far ahead, but she allowed herself a moment of imagination. She could request resources for her research, a promotion, or even funding to explore new territories of space. But she pushed the thought aside. Winning the race came first. The reward could wait. Night fell over Zenith, and the city lights reflected on her workshop windows. Alara took a deep breath and allowed herself a rare moment of calm. She had done everything she could. The rest depended on her instincts and her ability to improvise under pressure. The next morning, she woke early, her mind sharp and her body alert. The air outside her workshop was crisp with recycled oxygen, carrying the hum of ships preparing for the day. She dressed in her flight suit, double-checked her equipment, and headed toward the starting area. Other racers were already there, performing last-minute checks on their vehicles. Some glanced at Alara and whispered, "That little human thinks she can beat Varn." Alara smiled to herself. Let them underestimate her. That was exactly the advantage she needed. Varn arrived, his craft sleek and powerful. He scanned the area, his gaze lingering briefly on Alara. "Remember," he said, "adaptability counts for a lot, but speed will always matter too." Alara nodded. "I haven't forgotten." The race organizers, a neutral team of advanced AI, began final checks. Countdown timers glowed in the air, projecting holographic numbers above the track. The anticipation was electric. Alara climbed into her craft, feeling the familiar hum of energy and mechanics beneath her. She adjusted the sensors, tested the thrusters, and centered herself. This was it. Hours of preparation, simulations, and adjustments had led to this moment. She remembered all the obstacles she had imagined: rotating platforms, microgravity zones, energy barriers, meteor belts. Each one was a challenge, but also an opportunity. Opportunity to think differently, to improvise, to show the value of human ingenuity. Varn's voice echoed over the comms, calm and confident. "May the best pilot win." Alara smiled. "I will." The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. Engines roared to life. The starting lights flickered, and Alara felt the subtle shift of her craft as it lifted from the platform. She wasn't the fastest off the line, but she didn't need to be. Her plan was about precision, timing, and strategy. The first section of the track appeared, a twisting ribbon of platforms and barriers. Varn surged ahead, sleek and confident, while other competitors followed. Alara stayed focused, carefully observing every movement, every adjustment he made. She activated her adaptive thrusters, feeling the craft respond instantly. The first obstacle appeared, a spinning barrier with unpredictable timing. Most pilots slowed or swerved nervously. Alara waited, watching the rhythm, then slipped through a small gap, barely a meter wide. The crowd of spectators gasped, some in admiration, some in disbelief. Her confidence grew. Each section of the track revealed new challenges, and she met them all with creativity and quick thinking. Where others relied on raw speed or pre-programmed maneuvers, Alara found new ways to gain an advantage. By the time the first hour of the race passed, it was clear that Alara was not just surviving, she was competing. Varn glanced back, a faint smile appearing on his face. "Impressive," he muttered. Alara didn't answer. She was too focused on what lay ahead. The orbital track was full of surprises, but she was ready. She had prepared, adapted, and imagined possibilities no one else had considered. And as she soared through the stars, weaving between obstacles and gaining momentum with each clever maneuver, she realized something important. The race wasn't just about winning. It was about proving that human ingenuity, creativity, and determination could triumph even in the most unpredictable environments. And she was determined to show the universe exactly that. The starting lights blinked off, leaving the orbital track stretching endlessly ahead of Alara. She could feel the energy humming through her craft, responding to her every thought. Her mind was sharp, focused, and calm. Hours of preparation, simulations, and strategy had brought her to this moment. Varn was already far ahead, his sleek craft cutting through space with perfect precision. Around them, other competitors, humans, aliens, and AI-driven ships, followed, some struggling to keep up, others holding steady. The orbital city below glittered, a beautiful backdrop to a race that would test every ounce of skill, wit, and creativity. Alara adjusted her thrusters, feeling the subtle response of the craft as she aligned herself for the first obstacle, the spiral platforms. These platforms rotated unpredictably, forcing pilots to anticipate timing and trajectory with absolute accuracy. Many racers sped forward recklessly, crashing into barriers or losing momentum. Alara slowed slightly, observing the rhythm. Her eyes flicked to a small gap that formed for just a moment between two platforms. With a precise adjustment of her thrusters, she slipped through the opening perfectly. A cheer from the crowd below reached her through the comms, but she didn't let it distract her. Varn glanced back and raised an eyebrow. "Clever," he muttered, accelerating to regain his lead. The next section was even trickier, the microgravity tunnel. Here, gravitational fields shifted randomly, sending ships spinning if they weren't careful. Many pilots struggled, spinning out or colliding with the walls. Alara relied on her craft's adaptive sensors, predicting the shifts before they occurred. She twisted and turned, using the microgravity to her advantage, gliding smoothly while others floundered. Her heart raced, not from fear but from the thrill of thinking faster than the environment itself. Midway through the tunnel, she noticed a shortcut, a narrow passage barely wide enough for her craft. Most racers would ignore it, fearing the risk. Alara calculated the trajectory, adjusted her thrusters, and slipped through. The shortcut saved valuable seconds and allowed her to close the distance with Varn. Emerging from the tunnel, the meteor belt loomed ahead. Small asteroids floated freely, moving in chaotic patterns. One wrong move could send a pilot spinning into the void of space. Varn's craft weaved expertly through the chaos, his speed unmatched, but Alara had an idea. She activated her craft's sensors to track the paths of the meteors in real time. Instead of trying to dodge each one individually, she calculated a rhythm, a pattern in the chaos. With careful timing, she maneuvered between the rocks, using their momentum to slingshot her forward. Her craft grazed a small asteroid, using it like a springboard. Varn glanced over, surprise flickering across his face. "Interesting," he said, accelerating. The race continued into the rotating energy fields, a section where the walls emitted unpredictable energy bursts. Contact with a burst didn't destroy a ship, but it sent it spinning, losing precious seconds. Most pilots hesitated, slowing down to avoid mistakes. Alara studied the patterns. The energy fields weren't completely random. They followed a subtle sequence, one that her sensors picked up instantly. She timed her movements perfectly, weaving through the bursts with grace. Her craft moved like an extension of her own body, responding instantly to every thought. Halfway through this section, she spotted a minor opportunity, a small platform that others ignored. By jumping onto it at the right angle, she could bypass half of the energy fields. It was risky, and any miscalculation could cost her precious momentum, but she trusted her instincts. With a careful adjustment, she soared onto the platform, skipping the dangerous section entirely. The crowd gasped. Varn glanced over again, eyebrows raised. Alara could feel the small edge she had gained. The next section was the gravity shifts corridor. Here, gravity would fluctuate every few seconds, sometimes pinning ships to the walls, sometimes pushing them upward. Timing was everything. Pilots who relied on brute force or speed were at a severe disadvantage. Alara focused entirely on the changing forces. She anticipated each shift, using it to her advantage. When gravity flipped, she adjusted her thrusters slightly, gliding smoothly while others spun or slowed. Her craft moved with elegance and precision, a human mind guiding a machine flawlessly. As she emerged from the corridor, she was nearly level with Varn. Her heart raced, not from fear but from excitement. This was where her preparation truly mattered. While Varn relied on his skill and experience, Alara relied on her ingenuity and ability to adapt in real time. The rotating platform's arena came next, a section notorious for forcing racers to think several moves ahead. Platforms spun at different speeds, some faster than the others, some with invisible force fields. Most pilots slowed down, unsure of the timing. Alara observed. She noticed subtle clues, slight vibrations, energy shifts, and the faint glow of certain platforms. Her intuition told her which platforms would be safe and which would shift unexpectedly. She timed her jumps perfectly, using the momentum of one platform to propel herself onto the next. Halfway through the arena, she saw Varn making a calculated move that would allow him to skip part of the platforms. Most racers would follow the obvious path, but Alara realized there was a better option. She spotted a tiny gap at the edge of the arena, one that no one else had noticed. Trusting her instincts, she adjusted her trajectory and slipped through. The gap was narrow, but her adaptive thrusters and precise calculations carried her through. She emerged on the other side, a fraction of a second ahead of Varn. Varn's eyes widened slightly. "Well done," he said over the comms. "You're giving me a challenge I didn't expect." Alara smiled, focusing on the final stretch, the twisting spiral descent, a section that spiraled down toward the city below. It was designed to test reflexes, speed, and courage. Most racers approached cautiously, fearing the tight turns and rapid drops. Alara approached it differently. She calculated her descent, aligning her craft perfectly with the spiral's path. Using the momentum she had gained from earlier maneuvers, she glided through each turn with precision. Every adjustment, every twist, every push of her thrusters was deliberate. Halfway down, a sudden obstacle appeared, a rotating platform directly in her path. Most pilots would slow, waiting for the perfect gap. Alara saw a small solution. She angled her craft slightly, using the platform's rotation to spin herself just enough to pass through cleanly. It worked perfectly. Varn was close behind, but Alara had gained a slight lead. She felt a surge of exhilaration. This was it, the point where preparation, skill, and creativity mattered most. She had turned potential disadvantages into advantages, relying on human ingenuity to overcome challenges no one else had solved so cleverly. The finish line shimmered ahead, a glowing band of energy suspended above the city. But the race wasn't over yet. Varn was close, and the final section held one last surprise: the energy spiral trap, a sequence of moving energy barriers that forced pilots to adjust their paths constantly. Alara studied the pattern, noting the timing and movement of each barrier. While Varn relied on his reflexes to navigate, she relied on observation, prediction, and careful calculation. As the barriers moved, she adjusted her craft, slipping through gaps that seemed impossible to navigate. Each movement was precise, deliberate, and calculated. Her mind worked faster than ever, predicting the obstacles, anticipating Varn's moves, and adjusting her craft in real time. For the first time, she felt truly equal to her formidable opponent. As she approached the final barrier, she saw the perfect opening. Using all her momentum, she pushed her craft through, barely clearing the last obstacle. The finish line was just ahead. Varn's voice came over the comms, calm but impressed. "I underestimated you, Alara. Very well." Alara didn't respond. She focused entirely on the finish line. Every ounce of her preparation, every calculated risk, every moment of intuition had led to this. And as she crossed the line, the orbital city seemed to explode with light and sound. Spectators cheered, and her craft glided smoothly to a stop. She had done it. She had not only survived but excelled. Varn's craft arrived moments later, his expression a mix of respect and surprise. "Impressive," he said, nodding slowly. "You've proven something important today." Alara exhaled, her heart still racing. This race was more than just speed or skill. It was a testament to human ingenuity, creativity, and the ability to adapt when the odds seemed impossible. And as she looked at Varn, she remembered the promise: "Anything I want." But she didn't think about the reward just yet. First, she let herself savor the triumph, the thrill of a race fought with wit, courage, and intelligence. Because Alara knew this was only the beginning. The universe was full of challenges, and she was ready for all of them. The orbital city of Zenith shimmered below like a jewel, but Alara barely noticed it. Her eyes were fixed on the twisting, spiraling track ahead. She could feel the hum of her craft vibrating through her hands as it responded to every subtle thought. The race was far from over. Crossing the finish line had been a triumph, but Varn wasn't finished. He was still in the lead for the next challenge. The final gauntlet, a section of the track designed to test every ounce of skill, intelligence, and adaptability. Alara took a deep breath. She had prepared for this moment, imagined it countless times in simulations, but now it was real. The final section was unpredictable, with moving platforms, energy barriers, microgravity zones, and unexpected obstacles that could throw even the most skilled pilots off course. Varn surged ahead, his craft sleek and confident, cutting through space with practiced ease. Around them, other competitors had either fallen behind or found themselves trapped in sections they couldn't navigate. But Alara didn't panic. She wasn't just following the path. She was observing, calculating, and adapting in real time. The first part of the gauntlet was the magnetic field maze. Giant, rotating energy rings pulsed unpredictably, creating shifting magnetic forces. Ships that got caught in the wrong field would spin helplessly. Varn navigated with skill, anticipating the shifts almost instinctively. But Alara saw something he didn't, a small corridor where the magnetic pull canceled out, hidden in the sensor's readings. She angled her craft, threading through the corridor. The magnetic rings tried to push her off course, but her adaptive thrusters corrected instantly. She emerged slightly ahead of Varn. His eyes widened, and for the first time she saw a hint of respect. "Impressive," he muttered over the comms. "You're learning quickly." Alara smiled but didn't respond. She had no time for words. The gauntlet was only beginning. Next came the graviton drop, a vertical spiral where gravity shifted randomly every few seconds. Many pilots slowed, uncertain how to manage the unpredictable pull. Alara relied on her instincts. She felt each gravitational change through her craft, adjusting thrusters in real time, gliding through the spiral as if the laws of physics were bending to her will. Midway through the spiral, she noticed Varn had made a minor miscalculation. He corrected quickly, but the split-second hesitation gave Alara the edge. She realized something important. The race wasn't just about physical skill, it was about observation and adaptability. And humans excelled at that. As she exited the spiral, she entered the energy barrier labyrinth, a section where glowing walls moved in complex patterns. Contact with the walls wouldn't destroy a craft, but it would push it off course and waste precious seconds. Most competitors hesitated, trying to predict the movement, but Alara relied on her mind and her sensors. She observed the rhythm, noted the subtle changes in light and vibration, and calculated the safest path. Her plan worked perfectly. She weaved through the barriers with grace, using slight momentum adjustments to glide through the smallest openings. Each movement was deliberate, precise, and intelligent, a display of human ingenuity in motion. Halfway through the labyrinth, an unexpected challenge appeared, a shifting platform that moved in a pattern no simulation had predicted. Varn adjusted, but most racers hesitated. Alara's heart raced, but she trusted her instincts. She tilted her craft at the perfect angle, letting the platform's rotation carry her forward. She cleared it flawlessly, gaining precious seconds. "Not bad," Varn said over the comms, his voice calm but tinged with admiration. "You're not just keeping up, you're innovating." Alara smiled again, focusing entirely on what lay ahead. She had learned early in the race that raw speed was not enough. Adaptability, creativity, and observation were her greatest strengths. She would use every advantage the environment offered, every trick she had imagined during preparation. The next obstacle was the meteor cascade, a dense field of small asteroids moving unpredictably. Many pilots panicked, trying to dodge each rock individually, but Alara had a different approach. She analyzed the paths in real time, predicting momentum and angles. She didn't try to avoid every asteroid. She used their movement to her advantage, bouncing off one to gain momentum, weaving through the rest with a rhythm only her human intuition could achieve. Varn was close behind, matching her every move with skill. But she had one secret left, the orbital slingshot. She had discovered it during her simulations, a clever use of the city's infrastructure. A small, rotating platform near the edge of the track could act like a springboard, launching a pilot forward with extra speed. The trick was timing it perfectly. Ilara approached the platform, calculating angles and momentum. Varn's craft was still ahead, but she knew this maneuver could change everything. She adjusted her thrusters, aligned her craft, and hit the platform just right. The slingshot worked flawlessly, propelling her forward with unexpected speed. For the first time in the race, she passed Varn. He looked over in surprise, a flicker of amusement and respect in his eyes. "Well done," he said. "You're taking risks and succeeding." The final obstacle awaited, the twisting spiral descent, a rapid sequence of tight turns, moving platforms, and unpredictable energy bursts. Most pilots approached cautiously, fearing mistakes. Ilara approached differently. She used her momentum, calculated every turn, and relied on intuition as much as sensors. Every twist, every spin, every adjustment of her thrusters was perfect. Varn followed, precise as ever, but he could not anticipate Ilara's creativity. Where he relied on speed and experience, she relied on clever maneuvers, observation, and improvisation. She used the edges of platforms, subtle shifts in gravity, and micro-adjustments to maintain her lead. Midway through the descent, she faced an unexpected challenge, a rotating energy ring that seemed impossible to pass. Most pilots would slow or wait for it to align. Ilara had a better idea. She tilted her craft slightly, using the platform's rotation to spin herself through the ring at the perfect angle. The maneuver was risky, but it worked. She emerged unscathed, her lead growing. The final stretch appeared ahead, a glowing band of energy marking the finish line. Varn was close, but Ilara had gained enough momentum to stay ahead. Her heart raced, not from fear, but from exhilaration. Every ounce of preparation, every strategy, every moment of ingenuity had led to this point. She crossed the finish line, her craft gliding smoothly to a stop. The crowd of spectators erupted in cheers, their excitement echoing through the orbital city. Ilara had done it. She had beaten Varn, not through raw speed alone, but through clever thinking, creativity, and adaptability. Varn arrived moments later, his craft sleek and powerful but slightly behind. He stepped out, his expression a mix of pride, surprise, and respect. "You've done what few thought possible," he said, approaching her. "You didn't just win, you outsmarted me." Ilara exhaled, her body trembling with exhilaration. She had proven herself, not only as a pilot but as a human capable of ingenuity and creative problem-solving in the most unpredictable environment. "And now," Varn continued, his eyes glinting, "you get anything you want." Ilara thought for a moment. The possibilities were endless. She could request resources, funding, promotions, or even a chance to lead her own projects. But her mind wandered to a greater purpose. She could use this victory not just for herself, but to push humanity forward, to show that clever thinking, collaboration, and adaptability could achieve incredible results. "I want something bigger than just a prize," she said finally. "I want a chance to create, to innovate, to explore. I want resources and freedom to push the boundaries of human ingenuity." Varn considered her words carefully, then smiled. "Very well. You have earned it. Anything you want, indeed." The crowd erupted in cheers again, but Ilara barely noticed. Her mind was already racing ahead, thinking of new projects, new innovations, and new ways to prove that humans, with their creativity and adaptability, could achieve the impossible. For Ilara, this race was more than just a competition. It was proof that humans could outthink, outmaneuver, and overcome challenges that seemed insurmountable. And as she looked at the stars beyond zenith, she knew this was only the beginning. The universe was full of challenges, but she was ready for all of them. The orbital city of Zenith glowed like a constellation of lights beneath Alara as she stepped out of her craft. The excitement in the air was palpable. Spectators from across the city, humans and aliens alike, had gathered to witness the race, and whispers of her daring maneuvers and clever strategies had already spread like wildfire. She had done the impossible. She had beaten Varn himself. Varn stood nearby, his expression calm but filled with respect. He was a man who rarely showed emotion, yet now there was admiration in his gaze. "Alara," he said, "you've proven more than just skill. You've proven ingenuity, adaptability, and courage. You've outthought every obstacle and shown the kind of brilliance only a human mind can achieve." Alara smiled faintly. "Thank you, Varn, but I couldn't have done it without the preparation, observation, and a little luck." "Luck?" Varn's lips curved into a rare smile. "I think you mean instinct and creativity. Luck had nothing to do with it. You planned, anticipated, and improvised in ways no one else could." The crowd cheered again, some clapping, others raising holographic banners with her name. Humans and aliens alike were captivated by her victory, not just because she had won, but because she had demonstrated the power of ingenuity and quick thinking over raw strength and pre-programmed skill. Varn gestured toward the city's central chamber. "As promised, anything you want. The choice is yours." Alara paused. Her mind raced with possibilities. She could ask for wealth, advanced technology, or even a position of power within Novacorp. But as she looked out at the crowd, at the young humans and aliens who were watching her, she realized what she truly wanted. "I want the freedom to innovate," she said finally. "I want resources to explore new ideas, to create new technologies, and to push humanity further into the stars. I want to show that humans can do more than survive. They can thrive, invent, and inspire." Varn studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Wise choice," he said. "You've earned it not just by winning but by thinking beyond yourself. Very few would choose such a path. Most would take power or fame, but you've chosen progress and potential." Alara felt a surge of pride. It wasn't just about winning the race. It was about proving that human ingenuity, creativity, and moral vision could make a real difference. She imagined the projects she could undertake, the innovations she could bring to life, and the ways she could inspire others to reach beyond their limits. The administrators of Novacorp activated a holographic interface, presenting her with options for resources, advanced labs, prototypes of cutting-edge technology, access to orbital stations for experiments, and even funding for human and alien collaboration initiatives. Alara carefully selected the tools she needed: adaptive AI assistants for research, modular spacecraft for testing innovations, and a team of talented individuals she could guide. With her decisions made, Varn extended his hand. "Welcome to the next stage of your journey, Alara. I look forward to seeing what you achieve." Alara shook his hand firmly. "I won't disappoint." The following days were a whirlwind of preparation for new projects. Alara assembled her team, a mix of humans, aliens, and AI programs who were eager to work with someone as creative and daring as her. Together, they began designing experiments, testing prototypes, and planning ambitious ventures into uncharted sectors of space. Her victory in the race had done more than earn her resources. It had inspired others. Young humans watched her with awe, learning that courage, creativity, and adaptability could overcome even the most daunting challenges. Alien engineers and AI programmers began consulting her for ideas, fascinated by her ability to see patterns and solutions that others missed. One afternoon, as she oversaw a test of a new propulsion system, her assistant AI, programmed to calculate complex variables, spoke. "Alara, the adjustments you made increased efficiency by 12%. Human intuition combined with adaptive technology produces remarkable results." Alara laughed softly. "Told you humans are good at thinking outside the box," she said. Her team cheered as the test succeeded flawlessly. It was more than a victory in a lab. It was proof that human creativity, when combined with careful observation and teamwork, could achieve what machines and rigid logic could not. Weeks passed, and her projects began to bear fruit. Modular spacecraft capable of rapid adaptation in unpredictable space environments were launched. Energy-efficient propulsion systems were tested. Collaborative experiments between humans, aliens, and AI thrived under her guidance. Zenith had never seen such innovation in such a short time. Ilara's victory in the race became a symbol, a story that inspired humans across the colonies. She beat the impossible, they said. She turned preparation, intuition, and creativity into triumph. Parents told their children about her daring maneuvers and clever strategies. Young engineers and pilots tried to emulate her adaptive thinking. One evening, as the sun cast long shadows across Zenith, Ilara stood on the balcony of her expanded workshop. Ships moved silently across the city below, but her gaze was fixed on the stars beyond. The race had been just the beginning. The universe was vast, full of mysteries, challenges, and opportunities. Her mind buzzed with possibilities. New technologies to test, new systems to explore, new frontiers to chart. She had been given freedom, resources, and a team. But more than that, she had been given a platform to show humanity's true potential, creativity, courage, and the power to solve problems in ways no one else could. Varn appeared beside her, leaning casually against the railing. "You've done more than win a race," he said. "You've proven that humans, when they choose, can outthink, outmaneuver, and inspire. That's a rare gift." Ilara smiled, feeling a sense of fulfillment she hadn't known before. "I guess the race was just a small part of it," she said. "The real challenge is what comes next." "Indeed," Varn agreed, "and I have no doubt you'll meet it brilliantly." As night fell over Zenith, the city lights twinkled like a field of stars, reflecting in Ilara's eyes. She thought of the young humans and aliens who would follow her example, inspired by her victory, ready to tackle impossible challenges with creativity and courage. The universe was full of unknowns. Some might call them dangers, others opportunities. Ilara chose to see them as possibilities. Every challenge was a chance to prove that humans, with their ingenuity, adaptability, and moral vision, could not only survive, but thrive, innovate, and lead. Her team gathered around her later that evening, bringing updates on new experiments and designs. Ilara listened, asked questions, and guided them with a steady hand. She realized that leadership wasn't about domination. It was about fostering creativity, encouraging problem-solving, and giving others the tools to succeed. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Projects expanded, breakthroughs emerged, and Ilara's influence grew across the orbital city. Her name became synonymous with innovation, clever thinking, and human potential. One day, as she prepared to test a new adaptive spacecraft, her assistant AI said, "Ilara, the success rate of human-led innovation in your projects exceeds predictions by 40%. Ilara laughed softly. "That's the point," she said. "Humans don't just follow predictions, they make their own." And as her craft lifted smoothly into the orbit, gliding effortlessly through the stars, she felt a sense of triumph deeper than any race victory. The race had proven one thing: humans could achieve the impossible when they combined ingenuity, courage, and a willingness to take risks. Varn watched from below, a proud smile on his face. "You've done it, Ilara. Not just winning, but showing the world what humans are truly capable of." Ilara looked out at the endless universe ahead. She knew challenges would continue, some far greater than any race. But she also knew that with creativity, intelligence, and determination, humans could face anything and succeed. Her heart swelled with pride, not just for herself, but for humanity. The race had been a test, but the true victory was the demonstration of human potential. And Alara was ready to lead the way, showing that clever thinking, courage, and innovation could turn impossible dreams into reality. The stars stretched infinitely ahead, and Alara soared into them, confident, determined, and unstoppable. Humanity had won, not through brute force, not through rigid rules, but through ingenuity, heart, and the unyielding drive to create, explore, and inspire. And this was only the beginning.